A few weeks ago, I released a video titled something like, Why the Nets Will Beat the Celtics, and talk about a video aging poorly, my goodness. So here we are in round 2, the Celtics are facing the Bucks, and this series is, in the eyes of many, not only the best series of the second round, but has the potential to be the best series of the entire playoffs, because despite what the NBA seems to think, a series with two good defensive teams, with low-scoring competitive games, is something that a whole lot of NBA fans absolutely love to see. And after the first two games, we still have no idea who's going to win. The Bucks blew out Game 1, the Celtics blew out Game 2, and Game 3 comes later this afternoon. So we are going to see who takes the 2-1 lead. It very well may be the deciding factor. Who knows, but I'm going to sit here and give you my prediction today before we get any further in. I waited this long because everyone and their mother was talking about this series, but now that the hype has died down, I'm going to come out and give you all my opinion. I know you wanted it, so here it is. Who is going to win the series between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics? Starting off with Boston, you cannot talk about this team without bringing up Jason Tatum. He has become a legitimate superstar in the NBA. I know I made a video a few years ago about how he wasn't, and Celtics fans, you can quit commenting on that video and telling me how I was wrong, because you know, just as well as I know, that he was not a superstar when I made that video almost 2 years ago. He's a completely different player now than he was then, and he's improved in all the ways I said he would need to become that superstar. His shot selection has improved, his three-pointers are going down more, his playmaking has greatly improved, and his defense is better than it used to be. And we saw all of these things in the first round where he legitimately outplayed I'm not even saying legitimately. He completely and utterly embarrassed Kevin Durant, looking like by far the best player in that series. And it was a team effort to slow down KD and Kyrie and the rest of the Nets, but Jason Tatum certainly did the most heavy lifting on both ends of the floor. In the playoffs, he is currently averaging 28 points and 7 rebounds, and he is shooting 44% from 3. And the three-point shooting is a huge thing for this Boston team. I have said from the start, I've been saying it all season long, and I said it going into the Nets series. This is why I predicted that Brooklyn would win. The Boston Celtics have some very suspect shooting on their team. Jason Tatum has been shooting great. Al Horford and Grant Williams are shooting 48 and 55% from 3 respectively. They've been insane. But outside of those guys, and for the record, let's be real, Al Horford and Grant Williams are not going to continue to shoot 50% from 3 in this series on 5 attempts a game apiece. It's just not going to happen. The rest of this roster is very suspect shooting-wise. Jaylen Brown has not been shooting great, only 34% from 3 on 6 attempts. Marcus Smart, being the brick he is shooting 29% from 3 on 8 attempts a game. And then guys like Derek White. Derek White is out here shooting 17% from 3. Robert Williams does not shoot threes, and Daniel Tice is not any kind of a threat from the three-point range. So if Jason Tatum in any way cools off from 3, this team is in serious trouble. Now, offensively, they do have guys to turn to other than Tatum. Jaylen Brown is the key here. He's shooting almost 50% from the field overall, but if his three-pointers are not falling, Milwaukee's combination of length and versatility, it doesn't quite match Boston, but it is enough to give Jaylen Brown some serious issues on the offensive end. You need him to look like a legitimate second star next to Jason Tatum if you expect to win this series, because they are the two keys to this team's offense. As much as Boston fans want to sit there and talk about how Marcus Smart is apparently some kind of like elite player and he's secretly a great shooter, guys. I know he goes cold and he only shoots like 30% from 3, but trust me guys, Marcus Smart, he's amazing and he totally deserved the Defensive Player of the Year. Sorry. Not gonna turn this video into a Marcus Smart rant, even though he upsets me very much and his fans are absolute clowns. But Marcus Smart, very overrated player, not a very good player on offense. His playmaking has really come along, but as a scorer, he takes way more shots than he should. Like, the fact that he averages 15 points a game is a detriment to this team, not a positive. He shoots less than 40% from the field and less than 30% from three on a whole lot of shot attempts. He is a problem. So when Al Horford cools off, which he will, he shot 34% from three this season. He's not going to shoot 48% for the playoffs. When Grant Williams cools off, he shot let me see. What did Grant Williams shoot in the regular season? He shot 41% from three in the regular season. He's actually a really good three-point shooter, but he's still not going to shoot 55% in the playoffs. He is going to cool off some. When those guys stop hitting every single three-pointer they take, you're going to need Jaylen Brown to really step up and really be a big deal for this team's offense if you want to overcome the incredible defense that Milwaukee can throw out there. And speaking of defense, that is the Boston Celtics trump card here. They are absolutely insane. I mean, this is one of the most versatile defensive lineups we have ever seen in all of NBA history. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, who did not deserve Defensive Player of the Year, but he's still a very good defender, Al Horford, Grant Williams, Derek White, Robert Williams, and even Daniel Tice to a very small degree. This is a whole lot of size, a whole lot of versatility. They protect the rim, they protect the perimeter, they can switch pretty much everything. Robert Williams should have been in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. He had a legit chance to win it if he did not get hurt towards the end of the season. One of the best help defenders in the entire league. Jason Tatum, while not single-handedly, was the primary defender on Kevin Durant in that first-round series, and he did a phenomenal job guarding him, as we all saw. Jaylen Brown, Smart, Derek White, they're great switchable defenders. Grant Williams and Al Horford to an extent. Al Horford randomly gets his legs under him when he plays in Boston. I don't know what it is, but that man looks so much younger when he plays in a Celtics uniform. Really wish he had that versatility on the Sixers, I'm just saying. But this team is ridiculous defensively. Absolutely ridiculous. And while people overstate greatly the build-a-wall method against Giannis, it is not nearly as easy to do as you think it is. If there is any team in the league right now who can build that wall, it's the frickin' Boston Celtics. They have so much size and so much switchability, they can make life very, very difficult for Giannis Antetokounmpo, who may be the best player in the entire NBA, and has a very strong case to be the best player remaining in the playoffs right now. So let's talk about the Bucks at this point. Giannis so far in the playoffs is averaging 28 points, 13 rebounds, and 7 assists on 50% shooting from the field and 65% from the free throw line. Now, he is only shooting 16% from 3, and while I expect that number to go up a little bit, I don't expect it to go up a whole lot. This man is still not a legit three-point threat. However, his mid-range game is so much better than it used to be. Like, I assume most people aren't aware because I was not aware for the majority of the season. Giannis has become a legitimately good mid-range shooter. He's only shooting 29% from 3 this season, but he shot 43% from 3 from 16 feet to the three-point line. That's actually above league average. This dude is a legitimately good mid-range shooter at this point in his career, and that's very weird to say, but it makes him so much harder to guard than he used to be. And in case you haven't been watching basketball for the last, 5 years, Giannis has always been pretty dang hard to guard. However, after Antetokounmpo, this roster becomes seriously suspect on offense with the absence of Chris Middleton. If Chris Middleton was healthy, if he was not dealing with this injury that is going to keep him out at least the entire second round, we would be having a very different conversation right now. I really think the Bucks would win this series in, at most, I would say 6 games. I know the Celtics embarrassed me in the first round and proved me wrong, but I would still have to just say I really don't think the Celtics could win if Chris Middleton was fully healthy and was playing. He provides so much for this team, especially on offense. He's a great shooter. He's a pretty good playmaker. He is one of the only players on this team who can consistently create for themselves outside of Giannis. The other one is Drew Holiday, and he's very inconsistent. There are nights where Drew Holiday looks like a legit second star, and there are nights where Drew Holiday looks like he's pretty freaking overpaid. He is either out there draining threes and making tough layups at the rim and playing incredible defense and making crazy passes, or he's out there and he's missing wide open layups and he's airballing shots and he basically looks like Russell Westbrook with significantly better defense, alright? The dude is all over the place, so he's going to need to be really on his game in this Boston series. Not just defensively, because I think it's going to be mostly up to him to shut down Jaylen Brown, but on offense especially, he's the only guy healthy outside of Giannis who can really create for both himself and others. The rest of this lineup has a whole lot of shooting. Wesley Matthews, Brook Lopez, Grayson Allen, Bobby Portis, and Pat Connaughton. These are all very good shooting role players. Most of them, besides Pat Connaughton and Bobby Portis, are also pretty good defensive players, but what they are not are players who can create offense for themselves and others. These guys are very, very reliant on the stars to create the offense for them, and with a great defensive team like Boston, they're going to need to be, they being the stars, Giannis and Holiday, are really going to need to be on their A game in every single game for them to have a chance in this series. I think if Chris Middleton was there, adding in that third guy who can create his own shot, who can play make for others, would really be a big deal for Milwaukee. It would really give them a solid edge. But without him there, I have to seriously question if the Bucks offense can overcome the Celtics defense. And you can look at it the other way. The Bucks are a very good defensive team themselves, and like I talked about earlier, the Celtics have their own offensive issues. But when it comes down to it in a great defensive series like this, Milwaukee is a very good defensive team, and Boston is a historic defensive team. So I think I have to give the edge to the Boston Celtics here, as long as they can really make life tough on Giannis. They have the ability to make Giannis work harder for his shots than any other team in the NBA. But Giannis is still Giannis. He is still arguably the best player in the league. As good as Jason Tatum has become, Giannis is clearly still the superior player, and sometimes having a superstar who you just can't do anything about is the difference maker in the playoffs. So if Giannis is absolutely unstoppable, similar to how he was in the finals against the Suns last year, then yeah, the Bucks may be able to steal this one, despite being deservingly seen as the underdogs with the Chris Middleton injury, but I can't place money on that. I just can't bet on Giannis in this situation, not to mention Drew Holiday being consistent. I think I'm going to take the Celtics. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring series with some embarrassing offensive performances from both teams, but ultimately, I trust Boston's defense more than I trust what the Bucks can do on either end of the floor, so I am going to say Celtics in 6 to 7 games. They are going to the Eastern Conference Finals.